The Untold Truth About Money.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy how much wealth some people have, like Jeff Bezos. It just makes you think, right?
Seeing those visuals definitely makes you kind of stop and think. I mean, you see
Yeah.
that massive gap, and it makes you wonder how some people achieve these huge fortunes while it feels like a lot of us are kind of just stuck, just like treading water, barely keeping up with all the bills and everything.
I know exactly what you mean. It's easy to get caught up in that feeling of like being trapped in the rat race while others are, living it up, right?
Yeah.
And Jani kind of touches on that feeling of being stuck in a system that feels rigged. He points out how like the media and just society in general can really influence how we see wealth. It's often portrayed as something exclusive that you have to be born into.
It's almost like we're programmed to believe that wealth is this fortress guarded by a select few. But that's where it gets interesting, because Janik throws in some hard data that challenges that born with a silver spoon narrative. The Wealth X report he talks about found that something like 68% of people with $30 million or more are actually self-made.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. People like Warren Buffett or Oprah Winfrey, even Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk.
Wow. Yeah.
They all started with pretty humble beginnings.
That really flips the script. It makes you question everything you thought you knew about wealth. Maybe it's not all about luck or being born into privilege.
Yeah.
Maybe the path to wealth is more accessible than we think.
It's definitely a good reminder to challenge those preconceived ideas.
For sure.
So if it's not about being born rich, how do we actually build wealth?
Yeah.
Well, Jani keeps coming back to this idea of an equation throughout his video.
Right.
But first he tackles this common misconception that money equals the salary you get from a job. He gives the example of someone making $20 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
After 24 years of 40-hour work weeks, you'd theoretically hit $1 million.
So it sounds pretty simple, right?
Right.
Put in the time, get the money.
Yeah, exactly. But as Jani points out, that equation has some major flaws.
Okay, like what?
Well, first of all, it doesn't consider things like taxes, living expenses, and, that big scary inflation monster.
Yeah.
All those things eat away at that potential million. But the real kicker is that you're trading so much of your life, your precious time, for what could end up being a pretty small financial gain.
That really makes you think.
Uh-huh.
Is that really the best way, the most fulfilling way to build wealth? Jani definitely thinks there's a better way, like a true equation, as he calls it. And it comes down to shifting your focus away from just chasing money.
You got it.
So it's not about the Benjamins.
Not just about that, no.
Yeah.
Jani's main point is that true wealth comes from solving problems. But not just any problems. It's about solving problems on a large scale. And that's where the idea of perceived value comes into play. He uses the example of really highly paid football players.
Oh, yeah. Why are some footballers making millions while others are barely getting by?
Right.
It's not just athletic ability, is it?
No, it's about the massive demand for their talent. Their perceived value is through the roof because millions of fans are willing to pay to watch them play.
Okay, I see. So their problem solving is entertaining millions of people.
That's it, and that ties directly back to problem solving. Football as a whole solves a problem. It provides entertainment, brings people together, and those top players are seen as providing the most value within that system.
Gotcha. So if we apply that same logic to being an entrepreneur, it's not about becoming the next Amazon or Facebook, which sounds kind of scary, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's about finding a problem that people are genuinely struggling with.
Yeah.
And then creating a solution that they're actually willing to pay for.
That's the key. And that at-scale part is huge. Jani draws a really clear distinction between a local restaurant and a giant franchise, or a yoga teacher working with a few students, versus an online platform reaching thousands across the globe.
Right. Those bigger examples show how you can reach a way bigger audience.
Exactly.
And therefore potentially make more money.
That's the idea.
He also talks about the importance of systems processes and automation.
Oh, yeah. That's crucial.
Because relying solely on your own time to make money is basically like creating another job for yourself.
Right.
Just without the benefits and the steady paycheck.
It is. It's that classic trap of trading time for money.
Exactly.
To really be financially free, you need to build a system that can work and make money, even when you're not there. Think of it as building a machine that works for you even while you're asleep.
Okay, so we've challenged those limiting beliefs about wealth. We tossed out that flawed time for money equation, and we've embraced the idea of solving problems at scale. But where does freedom fit into all of this?
Well, remember, Janana's whole video emphasizes that time is our most valuable resource.
Right.
Building wealth isn't just about stacking cash. It's about gaining freedom. Freedom from money worries. freedom to chase your passions, to have awesome experiences, to spend your time how you want.
So for everyone listening, it's not just about understanding these concepts, it's about applying them to your own life, right?
Yeah.
Take a look around. What problems do you see in your own world that you think are worth solving? How could you create a solution that not only helps people, but could also potentially grow on a large scale? And could you maybe even do that within your current job?
Those are some really good questions to think about. Sometimes we're so busy with everyday life that we forget to look at the bigger picture.
Totally. Janison's video with this thought-provoking question that really stuck with me. If your struggle is meaningful, is it worth pursuing?
I like that.
It's about finding something that truly resonates with you, something more than just chasing money.
He's pushing us to dig deep and find the real reasons behind why we do things. Are you really fulfilled by what you're doing? Does it line up with your values and what you want to achieve? These are questions we should all be thinking about regardless of our financial goals. It's time to shift gears from all this theory stuff to something more practical.
Absolutely. We've established that solving problems is the key to unlocking wealth. But how do we actually find those problems worth solving? It's not like they're just, waving at us.
Uh-huh. That's funny you say that because Jana actually encourages us to really listen to the market. What are people always complaining about? What are those products or services they wish existed? What are those everyday frustrations?
It's almost like we should be looking for complaints instead of just ignoring them, turning everyday conversations into a treasure hunt for opportunities.
Exactly. It's all about shifting that perspective, that annoying thing at the grocery store, the frustration of booking flights online, the struggle to find good childcare. These could all be starting points for figuring out solutions.
I see what you mean. But I'm guessing there's a difference between finding just any problem and finding a problem that's actually worth solving.
For sure. Jana emphasizes that it needs to have a market. Are there enough people out there who are facing this same issue? And this is key. Are they willing to pay for a solution?
So it's got to be something people want and need.
Yes. It's finding that sweet spot where your passion meets a genuine need in the market. And that's where research comes in. Once you've got a potential problem, you need to validate it. Talk to your target audience, see if they're experiencing the same things, and figure out if they'd be willing to shell out some cash for a solution.
Okay, so let's say we've done our research and found a problem that people actually want to pay to have solved. That's pretty cool, right? Now, how do you actually build a solution without being tied to your computer 24/7?
That's where Jani's idea of scalability is so important. He talks about solutions that are naturally scalable versus those that aren't. Like if you're creating a physical product that requires manufacturing and shipping, you're going to run into limits on how much you can produce and how far you can ship it.
But if you've got a digital product like an app or an online course, you can reach people all over the world pretty easily.
Exactly. Imagine trying to sell homemade cookies to 1 million people. Not easy, right?
Not really. Right?
No, that's the whole idea behind scalability. Jenny's point is to think big right from the start.
I like that.
He also talks about automation. If you're always relying on yourself to generate income, you're basically just giving yourself another job. No benefits, no steady paycheck.
It's that trap again.
Yeah, trading time for money. To truly break free, you got to build a system that works, even when you're not working. It's like building a machine that makes money while you sleep.
So building those systems, getting people to help, and using technology to make things more efficient are all part of the game.
Exactly. Now, this is where things might start to feel overwhelming, especially if you're new to all this entrepreneurship stuff. But just remember, it's a journey, not a race. Start with something small, like automating one little task.
One step at a time.
Right. And here's the cool thing. Jani's ideas can even be used if you're not starting your own business. He says that understanding these ideas of problem solving and scaling can make you a rock star at your job.
Oh, so it can help you at your current job too.
Absolutely. Think about it. How can you be better at solving problems where you work now? Can you streamline things, create new systems that help your team? These things not only add value to your work, but they also show initiative and leadership.
I see what you mean.
So whether you're thinking of starting your own thing or just want to do better at your current job, these principles apply. It's about taking charge and making a difference.
Okay.
What's really powerful about what Jani's saying is that it takes the focus off of things like luck and privilege. He's saying you have the power to see and solve problems. And that's where building wealth starts.
It's about making things happen instead of just waiting for them to happen.
Exactly. Now, Jani also mentions this idea of acquisition, which might seem like a far-off dream for many, but it's important. He says that once you build a successful business, you've got a couple of options. You can keep running it, or you can sell it.
He uses examples like Instagram being bought by Facebook and PayPal being sold to eBay to show how much money you can make through acquisitions.
Right? These acquisitions show what can happen after years of hard work, good decisions, and of course, solving a problem that the market really wanted solved. It's like your efforts paying off big time.
And while getting your business bought might seem like something that only happens to a few lucky people, it does highlight how important it is to build something with an exit strategy in mind.
You got it. Even if you don't plan on selling right away, you always want to think about its long-term value. What if someone wants to buy it down the road?
Makes sense. But let's not forget that money isn't the only thing. Jani keeps reminding us that the goal is freedom. Freedom to do what you want when you want without money worries.
Exactly. It's about making your life match your values, finding a path that gives you financial and personal satisfaction.
And that brings us back to that question he asks at the end. If your struggle is meaningful, is it worth pursuing?
Hmm, that's a good one. It makes you think beyond just chasing money and look at the meaning behind what you're doing.
It's a question that challenges us to look at our current path, whether it's starting a business, a regular job, or something else, and see if it lines up with what we really want out of life.
This is a good place to take a breather. We've covered a ton in this part of our deep dive. We looked at how to find problems, create solutions, and build a business with a long-term vision. But hey, we're not done yet. In the last part of our deep dive, we're going even deeper into this idea of freedom and explore how to create a life filled with purpose regardless of how much money you have.
But now we're getting to the heart of his message, freedom.
It's easy to get so focused on the how-to of business that we forget the why. Johnny keeps saying it's not about just having tons of money. It's about what that money gives you. You know the freedom to live a life that reflects what you care about.
He brings it all back to time. That makes sense. I mean, what if you have all the money in the world but hate your job or feel empty? Are you really free?
He makes you think about all the choices we make without even realizing it.
It's like he's showing us that traditional path so many of us are on: work, go home, watch TV, sleep, repeat. It might feel okay, even familiar, but is it really what you want?
Right, like are there things you're dreaming of doing or experiencing, but you just feel stuck?
Makes you wonder if you're on the right track, even if everything seems fine.
What's cool is Johnny's message isn't just for people who want to be entrepreneurs. He says these principles can work even if you love your job.
So you're saying you don't have to quit your job and start a business?
Exactly. He's not saying everyone needs to do that.
Yeah.
He's saying think differently about your work. Ask yourself, how can I solve problems better in my current role? How can I make things better even within my job?
I like that.
Maybe it means taking on new projects that challenge you, or finding ways to simplify things, or improve communication. By focusing on solutions, you not only become more valuable to your company, but you also feel more in control of your work.
And maybe those problem-solving skills you learn could even lead you to starting your own business someday.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Or it just leads to a better career. It's about knowing you have the power to change things no matter where you start. And that brings us back to Jana's question at the end. If your struggle is meaningful, is it worth pursuing?
Yeah, it really makes you think. He gets that the path to freedom, whether it's through your own business or your current job, is going to have bumps in the road. You know, setbacks, doubts, all that.
But if that struggle lines up with what you care about, if it's moving you towards a life that has meaning, those challenges become part of the journey. Something you can even be proud of later.
It becomes about the whole journey, not just the end result. Those struggles show that you're growing and changing.
Imagine having $1 million but hating your job. Would you rather have that or have enough to do what you love even if you make less?
That's a tough one.
It gets to the core of what's important. That's the real untold truth about money. It's not about having a ton of it just to have it. It's about using it to have a life with purpose, meaning, and freedom. It's about matching your financial goals with what your soul wants.
So before we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a few questions. What problems are you seeing around you that you're passionate about solving? What does freedom actually mean to you? And what kind of struggle would make you excited to get out of bed every morning?
Find your own path to freedom and fulfillment.
Who knows, maybe someday we'll be talking about your story right here on the deep dive.